Hey guys, welcome back, it's Vic. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, you would know just how much I love to journal and how big of a role it's played in my personal self-growth journey. This week, I was reading a couple of the entries I had written back at the beginning of May, and I realized that there are so many ways in which my perspective on life has changed, even though I've basically spent the past 5 months at home doing absolutely nothing. But I think we take for granted just how much we can grow and evolve even when it feels like we're not doing anything productive. Because periods of reflection can give us just as much insight into how we can improve our lives and ourselves as people. That's why in today's video, I want to pull out a couple of the common themes that I realized kept coming up in my journal entries. Look, I even have them color-coded, and share with you guys just how quarantine has taught me things about life. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing that this time in quarantine has taught me is that to truly be a lifelong learner, you need to allow yourself the space to be a beginner over and over again. And for me, as someone who likes to see results very fast, as someone who's really impatient, it can be a really difficult thing to do. And it doesn't help that we live in a world that values and rewards people who get results, right? We are taught that the better you are at what you do, the more qualified you are, the smarter you are, the more rewards you get. And I think that really discourages people from becoming beginners. Is why the feeling of starting something new when you are so vulnerable to failing is so uncomfortable and so unsettling for so many of us. I would like to think that I'm someone who has a growth mindset and likes to challenge myself and try new things, but reading my journal entries made me realize that I'm still pretty uncomfortable in that territory of not being an expert. I have a few specific examples from my journal. Okay, so the first one is the process of learning Japanese. And for those of you who have been following my channel, you would know that when I started quarantine, I set a little challenge for myself to learn Japanese in 30 days, and you can watch that video over here. So let me read a journal entry that I was writing about a week after I started this Japanese learning process. I've been feeling discouraged that I'm not progressing faster and I can't have a conversation yet. But now looking back, I realize how stupid that is, considering I've only been studying seriously for about 1 week. My impatience really is shining through, huh? I think I'm so accustomed to seeing tangible results as a true indicator of progress that sometimes I forget the process of learning is in itself a beautiful thing. Is it not a wonder how today I know things I didn't know last week or even just yesterday? I hope that sometime in the future when I read this again, I'll be more proficient in Japanese. But I think what's even more important to me is that I never stop learning. I hope I keep chasing the feeling of being a beginner, because that's the only way you can grow, right? Another example that I wanted to highlight is my process and journey with meditation. On the same journal entry on 20th of May, this is what I wrote. It's so difficult to even get through a 10-minute meditation, I'm not gonna lie. But even after a short practice, I always feel better. I hope that sometime in the future, when I read this, it has become easier, haha. And then fast forwarding about a month after that, this is what I wrote. I just had the most intense 21-minute meditation session that I just need to write it down. First of all, 21 minutes is a big deal for me. I usually can't even get past 10 to 12 minutes without feeling like I want to stop or checking the time. Then I proceeded to write a super long entry with all the details about what I visualized and how I tried to focus and things like that. I actually got so emotional that I started to cry. It really goes to show how practicing something daily really does help move the needle a little bit further every day to get better in whatever it may be. Excited! See you on the mat tomorrow, Vic. And there you have it, guys. It's really just about the process and about trudging away every single day to become better at whatever you do. Really, it's about consistency over talent. Next thing that I learned in quarantine is that who and what you surround yourself with can completely alter the course of your life. I think we've all heard that you are the average of the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. But I think beyond that, it also goes into the type of content that you consume and the informal networks that you build, the people and the acquaintances who you might not spend that much time with, but still inspire you to do more and strive higher. Even though a lot of us are still in quarantine or are stuck at home a lot, I think there's still many ways for us to be creative and intentional about the relationships that we build. so that we can create those very informal networks that inspire us to go out and do more, become better, and grow as people. At the beginning of May, I was feeling a little bit lost, I'm not going to lie. I actually said in this entry, I feel scared because I feel like my environmental passions are fading or lukewarm. When I was in sophomore year, I founded Green and Eco and they both fulfilled that side of me. But coming back to Singapore feels like a whole different ballgame. Here in Singapore, I hadn't yet figured out where my place was and how I could best contribute to the environmental work that was being done in Singapore. As I mentioned in this entry, I'm quite involved in environmental work back on Yale's campus, but the environmental scene in Singapore is completely different. Being away for 3.5 years meant that I had to kind of realign myself with what was happening here in Singapore. But then as the weeks went by, I started to reach out to more youth who are doing a lot of environmental work here in Singapore. Speaking to them was just so inspiring. Hearing about what they're doing, their work, and learning their stories was just amazing. And also, I attended a bunch of webinars of people who are experts in many different areas who were talking about how they envisioned a post-pandemic or post-COVID Singapore. I also attended just last week this amazing environmental program called 30 by 30, and what it did was it connected participants with non-profits and businesses that are doing great work in the food industry in Singapore, like around sustainable agriculture, urban farming, and things like that. And this is what I wrote on 18th July after that particular program ended. It's so true. When you surround yourself with motivated, creative, and inspiring people, there's so much further you can go because you become charged with an insatiable thirst to grow, to learn, and to create. And after having all of these little interactions, all of these tiny points of contact with people involved in environmental work made me realize that, hey, I actually love this work. My passions aren't dwindling for environmental stuff. And then one day, about a week or so ago, I woke up and I realized I need to start doing something again. I was like, I have to find a new project to work on, a new role to contribute in. And that leads me to my next point, which is that when you open yourself up to all the spectrum of possibilities that the world has for you, opportunities will come. Just let me read my journal entry to illustrate my point. Just about 5 days ago, I remember sitting on my bedroom floor at 12 a.m. watching a webinar. I remember listening, feeling inspired, and suddenly all these ideas started to flow onto the page. The past week following that night has been a complete 180 from the previous part of this summer. More and more opportunities started appearing for me. Some intentionally I sought out, and others arising by chance. 2 potential internship opportunities, 2 environmental education organizations, one from the US and one from Singapore, reached out to me, and all of these chances to get involved even before school has started. I think it is definitely true that the more you focus and become aware of magic, the more you will invite into your life. Some people may think of all these things as a coincidence, but I believe everything is a sign. Lesson number 4 is that life is not linear, and I've talked about this before in another video that I did over here, but it's important, so I'll mention it again. As I mentioned, earlier in the summer, I felt as though I was feeling directionless. I had no idea what I was doing, but then now I have all these other opportunities open to me and that I want to work on. I remember asking myself, why do I feel so unmotivated? Why am I not doing anything that makes me feel fulfilled? But the reality is that life is not always going to be a constant trajectory upwards. So when we are in those lows of life, we need to learn how to be patient with ourselves and allow ourselves time to get back out of that space. And my final learning during this quarantining period is just that everyone should journal. So I've done bullet journaling for a long time, which is basically more for organization and planning my life. And I've also done gratitude logs, which are basically journal entries about what I'm grateful for. But I only really started doing this diary style journaling thing at the start of May. Writing so much more regularly has allowed me to give presence to the present, or just giving attention to the very tiny details of your life in that exact moment in time. You will realize a lot of things either about yourself or about the world around you. If nothing else, I hope you guys take away just how much journaling can be almost like a magnifying glass into your soul, into your thoughts. And I don't know, I think that's just the magic of writing things on paper. If you want to explore journaling, I definitely encourage you to check out Jo Franco's journaling challenge, which I will link in the description below. She did a video on it. She's great. I love her. And I'm also very happy to do more videos on journaling in the future. My battery is literally about to die. It's blinking at me and I'm feeling so anxious that this camera is about to shut off. So I will leave you guys with this and see you guys really soon. Bye.